All right, I want to welcome everyone to TGD today. It's a very special Tech Talk with Al Cloyd. By the way, good morning, Al.
Good morning, good morning. How
are
you
you?
doing? Super great, man. I can't complain.
And, of course, we've got our mother from a different brother. Is that the way it is? Or brother from a different mother or whatever?
If it's from a different brother, I'm out of here.
That's right.
HR3, Hugh Roy III.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
morning, Hugh.
Good morning, Georgie.
All right, Tech Talk with Al Cloyd. What I want to do, Al, is begin our coverage of the majors and, of course, the Masters. And talk a little bit about clubs.
Definitely.
There he is again. God, he wants me to break down. He just wants me to tear up. That's all. God, listen to that. You got to love it. Just leave that on. We'll just use that as backdrop.
There you go.
All right, Al. The pros.
Yes, sir.
Are they going to be tweaking clubs and their entourage of 14 clubs? Is there going to be special clubs for Augusta National?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. They spend most of their time on wedges, especially around Augusta. Getting the right bounce rates that they're looking for, getting the right soul grind so they can open the face, manipulate it, the way that they want to do so.
Mm-hmm.
What little bit of time I got to spend up in Pinehurst in the Titleist Tour trailer, wedges.
That was at the Open,
That
right?
was at the Open, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So they tremendous amount of time on wedges. So
Now, we saw Phil in the past go through different drivers.
Oh, yes.
To where he was, he at one point in time, a couple years ago, he was even taking two drivers in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Am I right there? So, and that was for Augusta. That was in preparation for Augusta.
Yes, sir.
So, are they going to be looking at the big dog, the drivers that they go in there with, cut down?
Most definitely.
Are they wanting to pick, reduce spin rates for more roll? Or they want to fly it higher and get more spin? What are they going to look to do?
I'll be honest with you. I think what you're going to see more of, George, is they're going to stick with the driver they know that they can put into play. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to see more of what you call the Frankenwood or the, when Mickelson came out with that 3-wood / driver. I always was raised by my father to play a very strong 3-wood because I never had trouble getting the ball up in the air. I always hit it real high anyway. Getting a 3-wood that was very strong. I mean, I play a 3-wood now. The one that you redid for me, Al, it came out of Tiger's Bend. It's 12.5 degrees. The new one I got, it's 12.5 degrees. I used to play an Olamore. If it hadn't cracked, it would still be in my bag, whether Nike liked it or not, because it was 11 degrees. But it's something that it's a good club to hit off the tee because you have a little more loft, you have more room for error.
Okay.
And I think
Shorter shaft.
and you're looking 43 to 43.5, which is the old standard for driver, but around Augusta, with those dog legs and the sloping of the fairways that you see, like on 14 where it slopes left to right but dog legs left, a hole like 17, it helps you get it up and around, well, the tree's gone now, but where the tree used to be. It's stuff to help you maneuver your ball a lot easier on holes 13, stuff like that, because the length is really not the issue there on those holes. Mm-hmm. So being able to have a strong 3-wood that you can hit maybe not as far as your driver, but it's in the ballpark, that's giving you an advantage, and I think you'll see a lot more of that come this year.
Are the guys going to be adjusting their putters?
Not so much.
They better be adding loft.
Yep. I mean, I think they,
that's why I hit that. Are they going to be adding loft to their putters in order to keep up with the speed of the greens?
The less loft, the harder it is to control the speed. If you go to 4 degrees of loft, which Scotty Cameron proved a long time ago, that's the optimum amount of loft for a putter. It's easier to control your golf ball and the speed of the ball because the ball will actually get on top of the grass and spin backwards slightly for just a few inches, and then will start to roll. If you don't have enough loft, it beats the ball down, makes it hop. Now it starts rolling too fast, and you can't control the speed. So I think you'll see a lot more of players going to more loft to help control that speed on those greens, because if things keep drying out and they don't get – they've gotten a lot of rain this winter in Augusta. My son, he lives over in Aiken. He said,
and it's been colder.
Yeah, and he said, Daddy, we've had a lot of rain. It's been cold. if it dries out and those greens get quick,
Which
if
they anticipate.
If they don't do something to that nature, there's going to be some guys they're going to look like Judge Smales on the greens.
Yeah. I mean, the ryegrass looks as good as I've ever seen it. I mean, I've seen some pictures of the course, and I don't think I've ever seen it look this good.
No.
I mean, it's spectacular. Let's go back to the putters. Al, let's say that I'm Billy Horschel, and I'm playing a Ping Answer 2, whatever. I'm just throwing names and heads out there.
Whatever have you. Right, I'm with you.
I don't want to replace the head of that putter. Can I add loft to that putter?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Well, most putters can be adjusted. I have Ed Mitchell of Mitchell Golf Products has designed a beautiful loft and line machine for putters.
Okay.
I have one at the shop. I've used it for years and years and years. Now, some putters cannot be bent. There's like a straight shafted putter where the putter goes right straight into the head.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those cannot be bent. Now, some of the straight shaft putters that look like they go into the head don't actually go into the head. They actually have a little hosel. So it's basically a male to a female type fitting. So that putter can be adjusted. But you can definitely, on most putters, make an adjustment. Now, if you take a milled putter, like, say, a man-crafted putter,
Like a man.
or
Mont
a
Man.
Scotty, they're milled from one solid block of metal. Some will have a welded hosel to give it a little softer feel.
Right.
But where the weld's at is actually stronger than any other part of the golf club. So what ends up happening is you can bend it forward or back, which will change the loft rate
Right.
of the putter.
Right.
And then you can bend it upright or flatter to
Right.
get the lie angle right.
Right.
So your loft rate is you're setting up to the golf club, and say the ball is here. So your loft rate's going to be right here. So the more loft, less loft. And then your lie angle is as the putter sits on the ground.
Right.
So both those are two very, very key adjustments, and they can make a tremendous amount of difference, on how the ball rolls.
Will you see pros at Augusta each year? And we've all been going for multiple years. But do you see the pros over in the trailer on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday before the event adjusting this stuff?
Well, see, that's the only thing is Augusta is very, very unique because they do not allow any of the big manufacturers' trailers on their property.
On property.
Everything's across the street of Washington Road.
Yep, everything's across the street.
But the guys have access to get to those trailers.
There's shuttles over
I just
there.
think
Yeah.
what you're going to see more of at Augusta more than anywhere, and it goes back to an old saying that, Pro Dip, the legend, used to say, if you hadn't brought it with you, you ain't going to find it while you're here.
Right.
Yep.
I think the only thing you'll see more adjustments with as far as golf equipment goes will be maybe a little stronger 3-wood, maybe different wedges. I think with the way the weather's been, you're going to see guys going with more bounce in their wedges than they ever have at Augusta because of the amount of grass and the dampness in the soil, unless it really does a lot of drying out between
Right.
in the next 18 days, as you put it.
Right. As I put it.
As you put
That's
it.
what it is, dude.
That's it.
I'm just giving you credit, George.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We're going to get him down to minutes
We're,
and seconds
we're,
for
we're
long.
counting. Oh, yeah. I'll put you there.
I figured he would.
There's certain holes, Hugh, at Augusta, and Al, again, we're tech talk with Al Cloyd, but there's certain holes like number 3, for example, that you're going back uphill. You really, it's a premium on placement of your drive. You don't want to hit it in those bunkers up the left-hand side because if you do, basically, when you climb down in there, you can't see the green.
Nope.
You can't see the pin. And there's so much area right of that, but they let the rough grow in far right
And the trees hang over.
off the tee box. Yeah, they do. So again, is that where that Frankenwood type, that strong 3-wood, is that where it's going to come into
I
play?
think you see more of that on that particular hole because in the past couple of years, you've seen a lot of guys drive it up there. but then they look like an absolute imbecile trying to pitch it on the green because they have no room or no. They have to hit an absolute perfect shot, or it rolls off the front, rolls off the back. You know, you've got to get it past those bunkers, but within a minimum of 65, 70 yards, and you want it around 80.
Let's go back to the wedge discussion real quick. Augusta National's fairways will be cut to a point that it's like hitting off of a tabletop.
They're nicer than most people's carpets in their homes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You are going to really look for less bounce if you're coming from the fairway. Is that right?
No.
Or do you want more bounce?
No, you want more. If the club digs, number one, the ball's going to spin more.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you got a chance on not being able to hit it solid and carry it as far.
Do a chunk on it.
The more it digs, the more it slows the club head down. If it bounces, it allows that ball to climb that face in those grooves, compress into those grooves to spin to where you can get it to stop.
So it'll help you, more bounce helps you off the close crop fairway.
I think it helps you tremendously more because it allows you to use the bounce of the club instead of trying to flip it and use it with your hand, so it makes it more consistent.
Okay. And then the bounce will help you in the bunker, and the bounce will help you in the rough area.
Yes, because you don't have to do anything. The club does the work for you. I mean, how many times have you heard me say, George, you've got a hammer, you've got a nail and a hook, you got to hang a picture for your wife. You're not trying to sit there and beat the death out of it because you're putting a hole in the sheetrock. Now you're in a world of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You make a motion, the hammer puts that nail in the stud. So that's what you're getting out of that bounce. You're allowing that club to bounce. You're allowing the club to do the work. Your hands don't have to do anything. They can stay quiet. And to me, personally, and this is the way I was raised to play with wedges with a lot of bounce, it makes things so simple to me because I'm not doing it. The club is. I can set the angles, and then all of a sudden everything's done.
I see the question is bounce. You know, when you talk about bounce, Al, there's question of 8. We see numbers on certain clubs.
Oh, yes.
We see dots on certain clubs.
Right.
Again, with any manufacturer and any kind of amateur golfer, they get confused. What does all this mean?
Yep.
So we're looking, if you want something with a lot of bounce, you get a 14 degrees of bounce.
14 to 16, yes.
Okay.
And a wider flange.
And then, down to 8, 6. Is that,
Well,
you get
4.
is that the low numbers?
Yeah, I mean,
The
I've got a 4-degree lob wedge.
Now, on the grind wedges,
Yes.
The ones you make, what do you normally produce? Are they 6 to 8? Or
Yeah, mine are actually more of a lower bounce. We're looking into doing a pro line that's got more bounce.
Okay.
But the 52 is right around 10.
Okay.
The 56 is right at about 12. And
So you're already up there.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
No, owls aren't bad.
Yeah.
It's just when everybody started talking about bounce and it got to be kind of the new thing that everybody was talking about in wedges,
Yeah.
the soles got narrower, but bounce is based off of the radius from the camber in the front the
Front,
leading edge to the middle of that sole.
the highest point of that sole.
And that's
Yep.
it. So if you open it up, you don't have a lot of bounce other than what you've got right in the middle of that sole. And that was always my argument. And I got into this with Mike Taylor the other night because he texted me from Nike in the oven. And I said, Mike, I want 14 to 16. I said, I want something wider that I don't have to work to hit it out of a bunker or
Right.
hit it out of a mushy lie.
Right.
Because the mushier the lie, the less bounce you have, the more it digs and the more you hit fat shots, or you end up sculling them because you're scared of hitting them fat.
Right.
So that's the thing. You've got to get to where you find your comfort that makes it easier for you to hit this shot. Everybody's different. Every pro-like stuff is different. I mean, Mickelson will play his 64 at probably about 4 degrees of bounce, and then, the other ones may have 12 to 15. Who knows?
That's correct.
Al, Roger Cleveland, when he went to Callaway, he started producing several different soles on wedges. One of those is the U-grind.
Right.
Okay, and that's where you've actually got 2 humps on the bottom. So you've got a forward bounce, then you've got what looks like a little concave. It looks like you beat it on a curb or something, and then you've got a rear bounce area. Is that advantageous? Is that something neat? Is that something we should look at?
I mean, I've seen that grind. And I've seen clubs that are designed, with the sole grind so that you can, open the face up tremendously, and do these other kind of things.
And you can with this club.
And you
Yeah.
can with this particular one. I don't think that it's anything that's like revolutionary. It's kind of been done before.
Got McGregor back in the '60s with the dual wedge.
Yep.
You remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
So-
That's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is it good? Is it bad? It's one of those things you kind of got to put it in your hands. Hit it and make your own decision. I haven't done enough testing, on it. Now, actually, I took that grind out of a club for a gentleman, a tour player.
Uh-huh.
This club was actually it was a gentleman that played on Callaway staff, and it was given to a friend of his who's also who's a very good mini tour player. And we got it in, and he had an older wedge by a different manufacturer that he really liked. So basically what we done was we took that particular wedge with that grind that you're talking about, and I cut that grind out.
Which one? You cut all the grind out?
I cut all the grind out on that whole dual lip thing.
Yeah.
That it was gone.
So
know.
you just made it flush.
Yes, sir. And I made it match his other wedge.
Right.
So that his other wedge was a Bridgestone. It was a Bridgestone wedge.
But let's say for a higher handicap, which most of us are, is something like that, we really should test something like that maybe?
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I would recommend, getting a wedge with a lower bounce rate and then one with a higher bounce rate. Especially in the sand wedge, and just try them. And now a lot of tour players will have, two maybe gap wedges, two sand wedges, and two lob wedges, with different bounce rates. So that depending on course condition, where
Right.
they're playing at,
Right.
So it gives them some versatility.
Well, they have access. I
Yeah.
mean,
but
it's
the average
easy for
person,
them.
it's hard
Yeah,
for them
that's
to,
right.
to own that
I
much
mean, it's
equipment.
amazing. I'll sit and talk to amateurs and look at their bag, and they've got the latest irons, they've got the latest driver, they've got probably an older, fairway metal and hybrids, whatever. But when it comes to their wedges, they're either still with Betsy, who has been so good to them through the years, got no grooves left.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Or and they sit and say, well, I can't get out of this bunker, or I can't put any more spin because look at my grooves, they're gone.
Yep. I saw a local, just a real quick example of that. A local pro at a local course here, super nice guy, got a nice set of irons, and he's got a wedge in his bag from like 1960. His sand wedge, and he still to this day, it's beat to death. It's been regrooved 3 times. It's just, but it's his wedge.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So we're anyway. I'm actually doing him up a grind wedge.
The
but,
pros, except for like a Hendrick Stinson with the Frankenwood, I mean, the pros don't really have a lot of attraction for their clubs, do they? To where just a personal feeling, to where, oh no, I can't pull this out of the bag and I can't replace this. We know they do with
Oh
putters.
yeah, you get favorites like a
Putters,
fairway woods, three
and
woods.
lob wedges.
Yep.
Sand wedges, so to speak.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I still have the original one I did with Bob Vokey. It's in the barrel at the house. The only reason I don't use it is because the grooves are illegal now.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're back that
Yeah.
way. It came out back when the square groove.
Definitely.
But, you see the putter I use, it's a copy of my 8802 that I've
Right.
had since I was
Right.
13 years old.
Right.
So,
If
It's a feel.
If you get
it's
a-
a matter
yeah.
of comfort.
it's what you like.
Yeah.
I'll get a lot of guys in and they'll have they'll be struggling with their irons, and they're got a pretty good idea of what's wrong with them. The shaft's too stiff or so on and so forth, and then they'll bring in a certain club that they really enjoy hitting, and we'll take that club, put it on a frequency machine, gauge it, find out where it's at, and then 9 times out of 10, that club is the right flex and the right frequency for the amount of club head speed they're generating, so that club is operating efficiently. And that's why that they hit this club so good. I had one gentleman the other day, he's got a hybrid that's got one of the steel fiber shafts in it. He can hit 200 yards. He said, I could go out, he said, you can go out and put a blanket on them. He said, this is one club. He said, I'll beat you at 200 yards
Right.
all day long.
Right.
He said, but now if you put me at 150 yards, he says, you got me.
Right.
So people do get, they get a certain comfort level with a particular club, and they're going to, even whether it be an amateur or a tour player, they will play that thing until it just can, they've wore it out. They simply wore it out.
So some of the things maybe our viewers and listeners of TGD should be looking for is really those wedges that are coming into play at Augusta. Kind of interesting to see if they tweak those or somebody found out and made a comment about it or whatever. And then also too those strong 3-woods.
Yes.
Is to watch for that because I for one, Henrik Stenson's playing so well right now. If he starts making some putts, he does make putts. Don't get me wrong.
I just think
But-
you're going to see a lot more 3-woods at Augusta than you normally do. Now you will see the drivers on 15, 8, some of the holes number 1, but you're going to a lot of the dog legs now. They're not trying to 'cause with technology in the balls, George, as we know, things don't turn like they used to. It's
Right.
harder to turn the ball over, left to right, right to left. So the 3-wood gives you that loft and a little bit more ability to turn it, and you're going to see a lot more of that. So the stronger the 3-wood, the more advantage it's going to give you if you can hit it solid and you know where it's going and you can turn it. That's where I think you're going to see a lot of these guys go to.
And I think also you're going to see a lot of 2 hybrids and a lot of 3 hybrids, but hybrid irons. Stuff that's a
A
little
lot more
of
of the 16, 17 degree
yes,
stuff.
The utility
that stuff's
stuff.
really the utility stuff's
A lot
really
of stuff is getting
yeah.
closer back to the old PRGR like I used to
Right.
use it. They made
Right.
it illegal because of the groove system. But, a lot of stuff is going back to that instead of the big hybrid type heads.
Yes.
And, Callaway's done it. There's a lot of people that are doing it, and it's got more weight in the bottom of the club, but yet it launches it. You can hit these things 240, 45 yards.
That's right.
They
Yeah.
basically
So-
have a driver
And those will be key on number 8, for example, going up the hill, trying to hit that smaller green where, they would normally, be trying to hit a 5-wood or whatever up there and get it to set down. They'll be able to come in with these utility irons, put more spin on it, get higher launch.
You'll be
off
watching
of
them
that
on holes like 11.
11.
Yep.
Yep.
It's one of those. It makes a hole like 15. If you have a club like that, you can get it in the air better than you can, say, a long iron. You can get it to where it launches and lands softer.
Yes, sir.
And that's important at Augusta.
Yeah.
Yep. And what made me think of that was remembering the playoff between Cabrera and Scott.
Angel.
Yeah, Angel. When he hit when Adam hit the driver, and then Angel hit a long iron. I actually think it was probably a hybrid iron. He outdrove his driver. I was sitting there to myself when I saw that. I'm like, he just took a good swing at a driver.
And you're talking about on number 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
On the playoff hole.
Yeah, he
Yep.
set up and Angel hits the chute, and we all know about the chute now, and we'll talk more about it coming up.
Yep.
But he if you can catch that slot
Okay.
down the middle left side of the fairway at number 10,
Okay.
you'll pick up 60 yards.
Minimum.
Okay.
You'll pick
Minimum.
up 60
So that
yards.
was knowledge. is
Oh,
what-
he
Yeah.
just knew
More than equipment.
He just knew that if you put that swing on that utility iron and put it to that spot. Now, if he misses that spot, he's 260 back.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's a club that he can turn over, George, and catch that slot. Where guys will
Okay.
hit drivers and try to do it and catch that slot, and they miss it, and it gets stuck up on that
Where
slope on the
Bubba
right,
just
on that
Bubba just
ledge.
hits the driver, and he doesn't care anything about the slot. He's just blowing it over it.
Right.
And that's
right.
where he ends up in the woods on the right-hand side, and, of course, hit the magic, 45-yard hook
Yeah. See, that's-
as it came around.
That's the thing about that Hugh knows is that there are slots, and things like this. See, the average person, I didn't have a clue about that. I didn't.
Oh, there's places around that golf course that.
And we'll cover that on TGD.
Oh, yeah.
So,
But I'd love to do that.
yeah.
I'd love
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. Good stuff, Al. Thanks so much.
Yes,
Tech Talk
sir.
with Al Cloyd, of course, with Dr. Grind himself. TGD Radio and TV are produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for thegolfdirector.com. When visiting The Golf Director, be sure to check out our featured course pages where you'll find up-to-date information about course conditions, specials, and much, much more. Need help with your next golf vacation? Just call Dave. Give us a call, 844-GO-GOLF-1. That's 844-464-6531. Hey, all of our programming is archived for listening and viewing on demand. To catch up on any show you may have missed, click on the TGD Radio or the TGD TV tabs in the menu screen at thegolfdirector.com. We're now available on over 1 billion devices at iTunes, Audio Realm, TuneIn, YouTube, Ustream, Roku, Blueberry, and Myrtle Beach Golf app. For George Honeycutt, Hugh Roy III, Dr. Brian Al Cloyd, and on behalf of Big D Behind the Glass, we want to thank you for tuning in, and be sure to continue to join us for more golf news and information.